I can't sleep in the same room as my boyfriend when I'm at your house? Fine, we won't sleep there. I was a recent college graduate who had made the immoral choice to move in with a boyfriend without getting married. We moved in together in another state about a 6-hour drive from my parents, who lived about 2 hours away from the boyfriend's parents. When we came back to visit, my parents made us sleep in separate rooms, beds because we weren't married. After a visit or two like this, Christmas holiday rolled around. We were planning to be in the state for the whole week between Christmas and New Year's, splitting the time between the two families. We start by spending 2 nights at my parents', then around dinner time, the 3rd day, we leave to head to his parents'. My parents are surprised and confused that we are not staying longer. They expected us to split the time evenly. My reply, well, at his parents' house we get to sleep together, so we want to spend the night there. Bye. Before the next visit, they let us know they have decided that since we are a committed couple, they will allow us to share a room, even though we're not married.
People, what is your downright scariest real-life story? Serious. I was home alone when I was 11. I had just fallen asleep and someone tried to break in the front door. I called 911 and hid in the pantry in the bottom shelf. They came to the door next to the pantry and tried to break into that door too. The police got there and one of them picked me up and held me until my mom got there. I wouldn't let go and he made sure I felt safe. I'm 27 and haven't stayed home alone much since. The day I signed a lease for my first apartment I got a dog so I wouldn't be alone. It's pretty traumatizing when you're that young. I was 6 and watched my 3-year-old sister get run over by my uncle's car. She was playing at the bottom of a hill driveway. Uncle was working on a car up top and it slipped out of gear. I watched the car moving and called to my sister but she didn't move, which ended up likely saving her life as she didn't get hit by the wheels. She was small enough that she got dragged underneath it a few feet. I was absolutely speechless and ran to find my aunt. She went in an ambulance to the hospital but was relatively okay. No lasting physical damage.
What is the most unprofessional thing a doctor has said to you? I had severe acne, and the conventionally attractive young female doctor with perfect skin and a full face of makeup refused to prescribe me something, and instead told me that I shouldn't feel bad about having acne because appearance didn't matter and personality is all that counts. While I did agree with her, I still wanted to fix my face from the horrible, disgusting red spots everywhere. It took me several years to find a doctor who took me seriously, got my hormonal levels tested and put me on a hormone balancer, but that one woman was by far the worst. I went home and cried after she said that.
What's the worst cheating story you have ever heard? When I was 13 years old, my best friend was 17 years old, which is already pretty weird. We had a very weird dynamic and hung out outside of school a lot, and he would take me to the houses of a lot of girls he knew, which I didn't. I had not yet gone through puberty, and he would take this as an opportunity to joke about in front of these girls, who were often 14 or 13 themselves, and make them laugh this way. He would get a laugh out of me often and refer to me as cooter repellent, which hurt to hear as the 3 or 4 girls my age around him would laugh. I remember him bragging about how he had gotten brain off one of these girls who was just 13, and he went around saying it like it was the greatest thing in the world. Even I thought this was weird and called him out on it. But he said I was just jealous and that was that. Anyway, while over at one of the houses I managed to spot a pretty girl and we actually made eye contact. I talked with her a little bit and afterwards I had noticed that she maybe actually liked me. She was my age and her best friend, who was 13, had just gotten into a relationship with my friend. I asked her to be my girlfriend after speaking with her just once in real life and once over text. My friend teased me about this non-stop, saying how he could have her if he wanted but he would be nice and allow me to have a girl to myself for once in my life. I paid no attention to Theos however as I envisioned me and this girl going off and spending our lives together despite the fact we did not even know each other's second.
I got revenge on my bully. In school, I was relentlessly bullied. 2 girls in particular had it out for me. I was shy, loved to read, didn't do the popular stuff, so I was the perfect victim. They'd literally torture me by holding me down in the staircase when we were alone and sticking pinboard pins into my arms, legs, and feet. Well, I finally got my revenge. I went to try out a new ice cream shop, and lo and behold, one of the girls was serving the ice cream. I have multiple allergies, including milk and gluten, of which the ice cream shop claimed to be cautious. So I ordered gluten and dairy-free ice cream, and set my phone camera up to film the area where the ice cream was prepared because I saw that the girl had recognized me and was certain she'd try something, and she did. I caught her on camera putting a spoonful of milk in the bottom of the bowl and crumbling the gluten-consisting wafers over everything, then camouflaging it with the last scoop of ice cream. She put it down in front of me and said, "I hope you enjoy it." I sweetly smiled at her and asked if she could get the owner of the shop because I wanted to thank her for being so welcoming to guests with allergies. I showed the owner the video and told her that I'd like to press charges. Bully will never work anywhere where she'll come in contact with food again, and she'll have this on her criminal record for years.
AIDA for ruining both my parents' marriages for disowning me? I am the byproduct of my parents' extramarital affair. Both of them had spouses at the time. My birth mother got pregnant and had to tell her husband as he was overseas when I was conceived, so there was no way I was his. A few months after I was born they decided not to divorce. I was given to my grandparents on my mother's side to raise with my birth father secretly paying child support without his wife's knowledge. Both my parents had other children. My dad's side knows nothing about me, but my siblings on my mom's side were told that I am adopted by my grandparents. Recently I decided that I wanted to know more about my dad's family, and I sent a friend's request to one of my siblings and my dad so I could get to know him. Well, he freaked out and contacted my birth mom and they asked to speak to me over Skype. They both told me that they couldn't risk staying in contact with me and told me that they were going no contact and to please respect it and move on with my life. Well, I did pretty much the opposite. I contacted my dad's wife and shared screenshots of our conversations and told her everything. She is now divorcing him, while on my mother's side I told both my siblings, who then went on to tell extended family including her husband's side, so now they are separate and my siblings hate my mother. Currently my siblings on both sides' lives have been upturned, and after the satisfaction has worn off I feel like I unnecessarily hurt them through my parents. AITA for ruining my parents' marriages?
Good morning, sir. How can I assist you? Sir?
Did I get in the wrong line?
No, this is the right one, sir.
You asked me if I need assistance. That implies that I need a service. I'm not here for a service. I'm here to purchase a product. I am here to purchase coffee.
Oh, well, I do brew the coffee for you, which is a service.
No, not necessarily, because if you had a self-serving option, then I would just go ahead and do that. But I'd still be purchasing the product, which is what I'm trying to do.
Okay, would you like to buy a coffee?
Okay, now we're making more sense. All right, I'll have the Robusta variety.
Okay, great.
Do you know where that's from?
This one's from Gambia, sir.
Okay, all right. You're redeeming yourself a bit.
So happy to hear that.
And I'll have that at pH 6.
Oh, like pH level? So you want milk, or?
Yes, that's what that means.
Kids who just graduated high school, did anything crazy happen at your graduation? Yeah. I hit my pen when they called my name and my principal slapped me. I'm a senior in high school, and I've always been a bit of a troublemaker. Throughout my high school years, I've been caught smoking behind the school, skipping classes, and pulling pranks on teachers. My parents and others have had their fair share of complaints about my behavior. The day of my high school graduation finally arrives. The ceremony is held at the school's football stadium, with proud parents and family members in attendance. The air is filled with anticipation and excitement as we prepare to receive our diplomas and close the chapter on our high school lives. As I'm waiting for my name to be called to walk across the stage, I get this wild idea. I decide that, as a final act of rebellion, I'm going to hit my dab pen in front of everyone when they call my name. My friends, knowing my plan, have their phones out, ready to record the whole thing. They're egging me on, and I can't help but feel like the man. They call my name, and everyone cheers and claps as I walk toward the front of the stage. I whip out my dab pen, take a massive hit, and start screaming, "Yodi gang, you feel me? Faded than a hoe. Faded than a hoe. Paying hum."
Am I the a-hole for having a snack? For background, I'm recovering from an eating disorder. Part of my recovery means that if I'm hungry, I need to eat. I need to get used to responding to hunger by eating. If I don't eat when I'm hungry, it can become a habit, and I could relapse. I know that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but it's the best way I can explain it. I always carry snacks to accommodate this. My boyfriend asked me to go to a family event with him at his aunt's house. Dinner was at 6:30, but the gathering started at 4 and we were on time. Around 5:30 I started to feel hungry, so I ate a small granola bar from my purse to reinforce the eat when you're hungry rule. Dinner was at 6:30 and excellent. When we left, my boyfriend was upset. He said I offended his family by eating a snack before dinner was served and implied they were bad hosts. He said I should have waited. I reminded him that I have to eat when I'm hungry. He said dinner was in an hour and should have been sufficient to enforce the rule, but it doesn't work that way. I have to eat as soon as I realize I'm hungry, or it's a slippery slope that could lead to me going days without food. Boyfriend was angry and accused me of just wanting attention and being inconsiderate. Should I?
R/2 order. I asked my mom if she wanted to be buried or cremated. She only sobbed and pleaded with me to kill her first. I got a call from my father that my mom passed away today. Who am I living with? There's this girl, Jessica, in my second grade class who never participates, so I've been trying to call on her during reading time, but she never reads. I've been mildly frustrated lately until one of my students asked me why I always called on Jessica, even though there was no one named Jessica in her class.
What is your accidentally caught your spouse cheating horror story? One of my former coworkers loaded in an SD card with a scanned project file on it. He put it into the conference room PC. We were treated to explicit pictures of his wife doing it with another guy. We were just stunned. This was in a senior budgetary meeting with the outside accountants and auditors, and he was sitting right there and we were looking at his wife and another guy going at it. I reached over and shut the projector off. Nobody said anything. He got up and walked out and drove off in his car, left his phone and laptop sitting on the table. He wound up driving to his parents' house 3 states away. He was gone for a week.
I messed up by wearing an inappropriate shirt to family dinner. I found this really awesome shirt while thrift shopping that said, "Take me home and feed me." It's a black shirt. Most of the letters are white, but some are a darker gray. What do I know about design? It's talking about food. I thought, oh, that's so perfect for Thanksgiving dinner coming up. So I buy the shirt for this purpose. Fast forward a few days, and I'm celebrating Thanksgiving with all of the extended family. It's evening. We've all had dinner. and the pies are starting to come out. My older brother pulls me into the kitchen for a quick word. Hey man, what's with the shirt? Interesting choice for family dinner? I ask him what he's talking about. I thought it was a fun Thanksgiving shirt. It clearly references food. Realizing I don't know what's going on, he starts to laugh. He pulls in one of the older cousins, similar in age to him. They both start laughing. Turns out the dark gray letters were the Eid on feed. The shirt is designed so that from a distance, you guessed it, it just says, "Take me home and F me." I wore that shirt for family photos. I am standing next to my sweet grandma with a shirt that says, "Take me home and F me." These photos will live forever on her Facebook.
What is the scariest thing you've witnessed in the middle of the night? Was riding along with my dad, who was a trucker. It was Christmas break, and sometime while driving through the night, he shouts, "Oh no," over and over again. I was laying in the truck cabin bed playing my PlayStation on a little TV, so I was a bit concerned. We hadn't hit anything. He tells me to put my shoes on and we gotta help, and tells me to dial 911. So dad pulls over, and I see it behind our tractor trailer. A speeding car was going too fast and had rolled multiple times down a steep embankment. So we went to see if we could do anything while we waited for ER. Family of 4, 2 kids in the back, no seatbelts, no kids seats. Everyone inside was a crumpled bloody mess. Once ambulances came, we left. They arrived pretty quick, and though I can't say for certain, I was pretty sure the whole family had passed. Kinda messed me up a bit. Had never seen a body in that state, or a dead body outside of a funeral. Even to this day, 20 plus years later, I still think about what I had seen, even after going into the medical field and witnessing worse.
Am I the asshole for telling my soon-to-be mother-in-law that my engagement ring is cursed? I, female 26, just got engaged. My soon-to-be mother-in-law is a nightmare. We are currently renovating a part of our place, and she has been lent a key in the meantime because she keeps coming over uninvited under the guise of helping clean up, but she really just likes to snoop and interfere. I do martial arts and take my engagement ring off before class. I came home from an afternoon class one day, and my engagement ring was not in the jewelry dish that I leave it in. I asked her about it, and she told me that she'd taken it to a jeweler to get it cleaned. She looked super smug about it, and when I asked which jeweler, she pretended she couldn't remember. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of having a reaction to it, so I just let it slide for a couple of days. A couple of days pass, and I ask her about it again, and she's super vague, still pretending she can't remember which jeweler and saying she's too busy to go pick it up anytime soon.
Redditors who have gotten genetic tests, what's the weirdest thing you learned from your DNA? This one's my mom, so I guess about me too. My mom took a DNA test for fun and saw that she was almost 50% Middle Eastern. For reference, her mom is Brazilian and her dad is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white man. Growing up, she always thought she just came out extra dark. Turns out that my grandpa had a vasectomy before my grandparents married, and instead of getting a sperm donor, my grandparents concocted a plan for my grandmother to essentially seduce a coworker. She then got pregnant, had my mom, and that coworker became my mom's godfather and a very close friend of both my grandparents. Her godfather assumed she always knew and never mentioned it. She, in fact, did not know. So I learned that we are very much not white at all, and my mom's godfather is my biological grandfather. My mom's godfather was completely aware of the situation and consented. He just wanted to sleep with my grandmother at the time, so he wasn't really bothered by the plan. So,
I've become less affectionate with her, in public and in private. She's been increasingly clingy, asking me to stay with her when I leave, texting me a lot, sometimes multiple times in the space of 10 minutes. I'm enjoying this. I want to see what happens when I pull the rug out from under her. I'm going to give it another month before I end it. I'm going to send her parents of the video doing something and explain that I can't stay with her. She doesn't make enough to pay for tuition, so she will probably have to drop out or suspend her semester. She works at the campus Muslim student ASOC, so I'll send them some evidence too, so she'll lose her job. I don't really know how effective this last thing will be, but I'll send evidence to her friends too, as she lets this guy talk bad about other people in her life, and even agrees with him. And then I'll ghost her. That's it. No family, no education, no job, no friends, no boyfriend. She destroyed our future, so I'm going to destroy hers. I think the grief will probably hit some time after that, but not that much. She said some devastating things about me to him, all of which were untrue or very exaggerated, but I can't get the thought out of my head that she has this false image of me, and that there was never any respect there in the first place. You can't love someone and do what she did. I don't love her anymore. I hate her. I loved what we had in the past. What we had in the past. What we had in the past. What we had in the past.
My husband is attracted to my daughter. TLDR, I made my daughter leave after finding out my husband is attracted to her. I, 55, have been married to my husband and my daughter's stepdad, 63, for 4 years. My 23-year-old daughter and I have a complicated relationship. She has been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. She has a lot of trauma from watching me and my husband's horrible marriage go down and was bullied in school. When she told me she was being bullied by peers, my view that all children are innocent really tied my hands, because I told her that if I said anything to them, I would be an adult harassing a child. She has blamed me for that ever since. And keeps referring to this one time where the kids at school called her trash due to the fact that she wasn't taking care of her hygiene due to depression. Part, not all, of my response was telling her to take a shower, and I bought her new clothes. The bullying finally ended with an expulsion and a suspension for the ringleaders. She still throws the fact that a school clinic volunteer told her that if she was their kid she'd have permission to punch back if administrators didn't do anything. I thought that having her live with me while she finishes school and gets a job would help heal some childhood wounds of my second husband, and I modeled a healthy relationship. However, my daughter now doesn't get along with my women of Reddit. What is the creepiest way that a stranger has tried to come on to you? Guy who showed me what our future kids would look like via some face app. Guy who I served in a bar I worked at when I was 18. He told me he was going to walk behind that bar and finger you until you effing finish. He was in his 50s. He did not finger me, as I threw him out and barred him. Old lady here. Asked an even older man about the right kind of bit for a particular piece of material I wanted to cut, since we were both in the power tool aisle. He told me which one to buy and then immediately asked if he could kiss me. After telling him no and quickly walking away, I see him just a few minutes later pushing a cart with a female companion I believe was his wife or girlfriend.
My boyfriend said the quiet part out loud. Last night my boyfriend, 20, and me, 21 female, we're going to have some fun. For context, this is the only non-abusive relationship I've ever had, especially in regards to lovemaking. To put it lightly, my other relationships didn't give a crap about me or my pleasure. Sometimes I get worried my current boyfriend doesn't care about my pleasure, but I've been convincing myself that I'm just paranoid and putting up a wall because of my last relationships. So we're getting in the mood, and I notice once again he is not doing much for me and I'm doing everything for him and his pleasure. For instance, this happens often. I put his hand down there and he moves it away. I tell him I really want to finish tonight and he immediately does an annoyed face with a big sigh. I'm confused. He says, but that's so much work making you finish. I don't know if it's your ADHD or something, but... And I immediately stop what I'm doing and my mind goes blank. I do have ADHD, but let me tell you, this man doesn't do anything to pleasure me. He has said he finds vaginas gross, so let me tell you this has nothing to do with my ADHD. Last night he confirmed my worst fears, that for 5 effing years I've been dating him and he doesn't.
What is the funniest real life story you can tell? One day in college, the teacher had stapled answer sheets to the back of every test by mistake. A few minutes after passing the test around, his phone rang and he stepped out. Everyone had noticed the answer sheet and we decided that we could all use it and tear it off after. So I checked each of the answers and they were all correct except for the last one. We were to draw a flowchart for the process. I checked the answer sheet and it said answers will vary. I drew my flowchart, tore the answer sheet off, and walked to the front of the podium to turn in the test. When I got to the podium, I had to know. I needed to see what everyone else had drawn for the flowchart. Everyone had written on their tests, answers will vary. This will vary. This will vary.
What's the dumbest thing you've done out of pure horniness? On weekends during high school, I frequently would sneak out of the house and sneak into my girlfriend at the time's parents' house. Well, I didn't have a car or a driver's license at the time, and the only car I could use was my mom's standard Toyota Camry. This led to many situations of me being stalled out on a hill at 3 a.m. with no driver's license, but I did learn how to drive standard quite well. My mom was really confused by that. Also, sometimes I would tell my parents I was staying the night with a friend and have my parents drop me off at school for my friends to pick me up. Well, my GF at the time lived about a mile from school, so I would just walk to her place. But when I would spend the night, I would have to hide in the closet, leave by 5 a.m. because her dad always came and checked on her before he left for work. So, that led to a couple instances of sleeping in the closet, but the best/worst was when I had to leave, but no place to stay. So before this situation, my buddy was able to obtain a copy of the key to the guy's locker room, and I happened to have it that night. So after being kicked out of her place and, of course, getting my rocks off, I walked back to school and managed to sneak into the locker room.
When did you realize your friends were actually fake friends? When I slowly realized I was only around for chores and errands, rides to the airport, pick up furniture, help move. Anything social always resulted in either last-minute cancellations, showing up 45 minutes late and bolting after 10 minutes. I thought they were busy, but no. When I returned to work after being off for 3 months due to an injury and I practically begged them to go grab a beer and do pub trivia, but all 3 of them passed because they had plans. Well, it turns out their plans were to go grab a beer and do pub trivia without me. Found out through social media, deleted it shortly afterwards. I've been a lot less sad about things since I've deleted social media and stopped looking at them as friends and just as work acquaintances. It took that for me to realize that the friendships were really one-sided and I'm better off not pursuing anything other than being cordial at work. When I was babysitting her kids, things were going great. We would hang out all the time, have movie nights and just talk and chill. But the second she no longer needed a babysitter was the second I got kicked to the curb. No explanation, not even a text back.
Introverts, how did you meet your girlfriend? She came over to me in a coffee shop while she was on vacation in my country, to ask how to tip. We had a 2-hour conversation, and then an amazing 5-hour lunch 2 days later. She complained about her hostel and I offered her my spare bedroom. She accepted. Nothing happened, although it seems crystal clear in retrospect that we were falling for each other. Duh, I didn't want to be douchey and make her feel uncomfortable under my roof, so putting the moves on her was not something I seriously considered. 2 nights later, I had to be gone for most of the night, on a work assignment, and I asked if she would please watch and walk my dog in my absence. I came home at 5 a.m., and was greeted by my suddenly very soft, very fluffy dog. She had somehow understood "will you please wash my dog," and apparently didn't find that a strange request at all. The next evening, after we'd been talking over a bottle of wine for hours, it seemed she'd had enough of my apparent indecisiveness, took the wine glass out of my hand, put it down, and leaned in for a kiss. That was 26 years ago. We've been married 23 years.
Would I be the hole if I break up with my GF over her weight? I, 28 meters, am 6'5", 200 pounds and go to the gym 3 times a week and go for jogs daily. I met my GF, 24, at the gym about 2 years ago. She's smaller and was thin at the time, she was cute and funny, and we hit it off really well. Almost a year ago we decided to move in together, and I noticed then she had gained a couple pounds, but didn't think anything of it. Ever since then she has consistently put on more and more weight. Easily 60 plus pounds now. Of course she no longer works out either. I find her eating habits and appearance gross now. The thin girl I was so attracted to has been replaced by an insatiable eater. She eats bags of candy and wants fast food for every meal. The apartment we are renting lease is ending in April. She has been hinting at wanting to get married, but I'm thinking of cutting her and the apartment free at lease end. So my question is, would I be the hole if I dump my girlfriend because she has gained so much weight I'm no longer attracted to her?
What's the best mistake you've ever made? I made a mistake and asked the wrong woman out on a date. I have trouble remembering names and faces. There was a girl named Vicky that I talked to during lunch breaks at school. There was another girl named Marie that I met once at a cookout. I had an event coming up with dinner and dancing, and I wanted to ask Vicky to be my date since I knew her better. One day, while rushing between classes, a girl named Vicky stopped me and said hello. I surprised her by asking her to come with me to the event. She agreed, and I took out my notepad to write down her number. I wrote down the name Vicky, but she told me that wasn't her name. I apologized for my mistake and asked her what her name was. It was Marie. I realized that I had asked out the wrong girl, but I didn't want to back out since she had already said yes. We went on the date, and that night, we both fell in love. 3 weeks later, we got engaged. It has been 38 years since then, and we have a son together. We are still happily together, and yes, she knows the whole story.
Has a black person bullied you for being white? My younger daughter came back to our car crying once when we were at Aldi. I asked her what was wrong, as all she had done was to take the cart back while I was rearranging some stuff in the back. My daughter told me that she offered her cart to the next person walking up, as we often do, and the man told her, "I don't need no charity from a fat, stuck-up, white racist, stupid beach like you. I can afford my own cart." My sweet daughter was 15 at the time and had a low self-esteem from being slightly overweight and also from kids teasing her at school because she has dyslexia and reading is slow as a result. I saw red that day and marched back into Aldi to find that man, which wasn't hard because there were only 4 customers in the store and only 2 were black, a very large man and a little old lady. I was livid and honestly didn't care what he thought of me. I asked him how dare he make a sweet young girl cry when all she was doing was being polite. Then I asked how dare he call her what he called her, repeating it all word for word. I told him he was a disgusting human being, judging other by the color of their skin like he did. As I was leaving, the little old black lady started berating him, claiming people like him are the reason black people get reputations as being lower class.
What will never not be funny? Accidentally walking in on my dad, my uncle, and my grandma smoking of my grandma's medical marijuana as a teen. My grandma saying, "Are you in or are you out?" Mostly asking if I was going to keep this secret from my aunt. Not knowing any of them smoked and saying yes, because how often does that opportunity occur all at once? I take a couple hits, and we go to dinner, hot dogs and macaroni. We all keep our cool, probably too silently eating our food, and I look over as I'm trying to suction off that inevitable first bite of bread bun from the roof of my mouth, and I lock eyes with my tiny little grandma doing the same thing, and the seal of silence broke, and we laughed so hard despite trying to hold back. My uncle and dad covered their plates as we burst out laughing, mouths full. My aunt in utter confusion and sudden realization all at once, just shaking her head while we tried to control ourselves to no end. Best memory ever. Still makes me laugh. It's the small things in life. There's nothing bigger. If there's nothing.
r/2 hoarder. I asked my mom if she wanted to be buried or cremated. She only sobbed and pleaded with me to kill her first. I got a call from my father that my mom passed away today. Who am I living with? There's this girl, Jessica, in my 2nd grade class who never participates, so I've been trying to call on her during reading time, but she never reads. I've been mildly frustrated lately until one of my students asked me why I always called on Jessica, even though there was no one named Jessica in her class.
I've become less affectionate with her, in public and in private. She's been increasingly clingy, asking me to stay with her when I leave, texting me a lot, sometimes multiple times in the space of 10 minutes. I'm enjoying this. I want to see what happens when I pull the rug out from under her. I'm going to give it another month before I end it. I'm going to send her parents of the video doing something and explain that I can't stay with her. She doesn't make enough to pay for tuition, so she will probably have to drop out or suspend her semester. She works at the campus Muslim student ASOC, so I'll send them some evidence too, so she'll lose her job. I don't really know how effective this last thing will be, but I'll send evidence to her friends too, as she lets this guy talk bad about other people in her life, and even agrees with him. And then I'll ghost her. That's it. No family, no education, no job, no friends, no boyfriend. She destroyed our future, so I'm going to destroy hers. I think the grief will probably hit some time after that, but not that much. She said some devastating things about me to him, all of which were untrue or very exaggerated, but I can't get the thought out of my head that she has this false image of me, and that there was never any respect there in the first place. You can't love someone and do what she did. I don't love her anymore. I hate her. I loved what we had in the past. What we had in the past. What we had in the past. What we had in the past.
As a student, what is the saddest thing you have found out about your teacher? The entire class stood outside the door waiting for him to unlock it like he did every class. We stood there waiting and waiting. Even the late kids were now there at this point. The teacher had never been this late. After around 15 minutes, the principal lets us in the classroom. We all sat down in our chairs wondering what was going on. Then it came. The principal stood up and said something that shocked us all. Your teacher, Mr. M, has passed away. The room went silent. We were all shocked. It was as if lightning has just struck every person in that room at once. The man couldn't have been more than 43 years old, and he didn't look sick when we had seen him 2 days prior. God, the silence. The principal then explained that Mr. M had been sick for a while with pancreatitis. He never expected to live to an old age and had prepped the staff in case this event ever occurred. Some kids started crying, others asked questions, and some just sat there in silence. We were eventually all sent home early. Mr. M was my 11th grade film teacher. This man was one of the main reasons I am pursuing a career in film editing today. He was the one who started the spark.